Laura Kempton, a 23-year-old student at the New Hampshire Technical Institute, was known for her kindness, ambition, and bright personality. She was living independently in the charming seaside town of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, working hard to build her future. But on September 28, 1981, her life came to a sudden and violent end. That morning, a neighbor noticed that Laura's apartment door on Chapel Street was slightly ajar. Concerned, they called the police. What officers found inside shocked the quiet community. Laura had been brutally murdered, her life stolen by a horrifying act of violence. She had been struck with fatal blunt force trauma, and the scene showed no signs of forced entry, leaving investigators to believe she may have known her killer or had been caught off guard by an intruder. Initially, the investigation struggled to gain traction. Detectives scoured Laura's life for clues, interviewing friends, neighbors, and co-workers. They discovered Laura was well-liked and had no known enemies. The lack of forced entry raised troubling questions. Could it have been someone she trusted? Or had she unknowingly become the target of a stranger? As weeks turned into months, the case grew cold. Despite their efforts, police could not find strong leads or evidence to identify her killer. The murder of a young woman in such a tight-knit community left residents shaken, and questions about safety lingered. Then, in 1982, a new tragedy deepened the mystery. Tammy Little, another young woman in Portsmouth, was found murdered in a similar fashion. The similarities between the cases caused many to fear that a serial offender was at large, preying on women in the area. Yet, despite the fear and urgency, both cases remained unsolved for years. In the 2000s, Laura's case was reopened. Advances in forensic science brought new hope. DNA technology, unavailable in the early 1980s, was used to analyze old evidence. Investigators worked tirelessly, hoping to uncover a breakthrough that could finally bring justice to Laura's family. But even with these efforts, the case hit another roadblock. There wasn't enough evidence to definitively link anyone to her murder. Laura's killer remains unidentified for decades, leaving a haunting void in her loved ones' lives. Her story has become a symbol of the resilience of cold case investigators and the families who never give up hope for answers. However, in 2023, after over 40 years, a breakthrough finally came. Investigators using forensic genetic genealogy identified Ronnie James Lee as Laura's killer. Lee, who was 21 at the time of the murder, had died in 2005 of a drug overdose, while he could no longer face justice. The identification brought long-awaited answers to Laura's family and the Portsmouth community. Laura's story is a